Have you been dreaming about a new kitchen? Does your bathroom drive you crazy? Is grout missing? Maybe you have a blue toilet. Maybe your kitchen cabinets, the paint is peeling off, or the stain is coming out, or the doors are all sagging, and it's time for a major refresh. My name's Eric Jensen. I'm the owner of Sprucehill Homes, and I've been building and renovating homes for the last 19 years. Today, I want to spend a couple minutes with you talking about a project that we recently finished called Delightful Duplex. It's a duplex renovation where we transformed the main floor from drab to awesome and converted their primary ensuite from something from the 80s to something that is from the 2025s. Stick around and let's find out what we did, why we did it, and what it finally ended up looking like. With Delightful Duplex, we had clients that had just moved back to Canada from out of country, and they purchased a townhome, well, a duplex, obviously, not a townhome, that was a little dated. It needs some love. The cabinets were really dark and not particularly nice to look at. It didn't function very well in terms of being able to cook and function. Drawers were sticky and didn't work. Their bathroom, same problem, tight, uncomfortable, not fun to be in, like just did not make anybody excited to come home and be there. So what the clients asked us for was a kitchen that was going to be bright, white, welcoming, and not too stark though, like still warm, but clean, right? A lot of people wonder, how do you get from A to B in terms of, I have an idea, I want to renovate my kitchen. Let's just keep a kitchen for keeping it simple. What we have found works best is to come up with rough design, nothing too detailed, and a rough budget, an allowance-based budget that'll give you the idea of, what can possibly be done and what the associated costs for that might be. Now, some clients just want a designer to come in and tell them what they want. And, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. What we find works best is for us to create an idea board or mood board in Pinterest or Houzz, and we start to build on the imagery and the pictures that they pick from, and it helps us to really understand what they're looking for. Some people want really modern and contemporary. Other people are looking for a more traditional design. And so for us, what we try to do is tailor our designs and what we're showing our clients to the individual client and on their tastes. Among the many things that we have to think about when we're designing kitchens and bathrooms is, where is everything gonna go? If you haven't heard about it before, there is a triangle that all designers are trying to achieve in the kitchen: sink, oven, fridge. And you ideally want to have those three appliances set up in some form of triangle so that you can get things from the fridge to the counter to the stove or the oven. We needed to make sure that we got the appliances in the right location. We also needed to help guide the clients to make sure that they were getting the right appliances that they really wanted. From there, we go in for permits if we need to, and at the same time, we work with our clients to do material selections and start figuring out all of the details. Our suggestion is to have a detailed plan, like we're talking Gantt chart plan, nailed down, a really solid budget that makes sense and captures everything, and as at least 90% of the design decisions made before we start. And what that does is it just streamlines the process. It keeps everybody feeling far more comfortable about what's happening. And so once we've got those things in place, then we have to get trades scheduled. So you've got, depending on the size of the project, various contractors for demolition and drywall and plumbing and electrical. Next step after that, rip everything out. So demolition, that'll take a week or two, depending on the size of your kitchen. From there, you're gonna have your plumbers come in and redo whatever plumbing. Our suggestion to you is, if there's any existing copper that can be replaced, replace it with PEX or another alternative so that you don't have to worry about that copper leaking in the future on your brand new renovated space. Pro tip. Once the plumbing is done, electricians come through and they run their wire and rewire things as they need to. Again, like I'm doing this kind of off the cuff here. I'm assuming that we're not making any sort of framing changes. Obviously that stuff would need to get done before the plumbers come to site. Because we have our electricians come and box out the project. So we just have boxes installed, no wire. Boxes, switches, like electrical boxes, or plugs, whatever you want to call them, switches, pot lights, all of that sort of stuff. And because there's no wires pulled to them already, it's really easy for us to have the electricians move this from this side of the stud to the other, or from this to here, wherever we think it needs to go as we do our walkout. Part of what we do is we have a client maybe walk through a door and say, hey, reach out and try to turn on the light as you're coming in or out of the room. Is that switch intuitively where you think it would be? If it's not, then we have a conversation. Hey, does it make sense to move that switch to someplace else? Does it make sense to leave it where it is because of whatever reasons? But at least we have an opportunity to have a conversation with the clients before the electricians have gone and pulled all the wire to all of these locations. Because as you could imagine, once the electricians have pulled wire to here, if they're pigtailed and they're going from one to the other, if we go and move the plug, we may have to rerun wire for an entire area. You get your trade rough-ins done, and then we have to get through plumbing and electrical inspection if we don't need a building permit, right? So here's a great question. When do I need a building permit? Well, where we live, anytime you are moving a window, which would be considered a structural change, or adding or removing a wall, those activities require a building permit. So you should be getting building permits anytime you're moving walls, moving doors, moving windows, adding windows. You could probably get away without a permit if you're eliminating a window. But again, you gotta be careful in that because egress considerations and whatever else. If in doubt, consult somebody that works in your jurisdiction and get their input as to what you do or don't need to do from a permitting perspective. But for us, we always wanna pull plumbing and electrical permits just to make sure that we're protected and our clients are protected, which is so important. Once we have finished our rough-ins, then you got insulation, drywall, flooring, finishing. What we're looking for here and what you want to see in a good drywall job is nice tight corners. Everything looking really good. Inside corners looking nice and sharp and clean and flat and smooth. Our corner beads, which is what's on the edge here, that's the corner bead. And again, what that looks like before you get started is that, and that gets taped on the wall. So again, everything here looking exactly as we would hope. It's literally an orchestra that a project manager is having to conduct. And part of project management, and probably any project manager honestly, is like nothing ever goes as planned. So by having a good plan and having something that's in a project management software, if plans change, it's easy to drag and drop things around and reschedule things and figure out where you want things to go. And like if the Tyler can't show up when you need them to, what else can be done while the Tyler's not there, right? So just juggling things around to minimize how long the project takes. And then, from there, it's a sprint to the finish. So get the cabinets installed, get the counters installed. One important note is when you are installing cabinets or anything and you're dealing with a floating floor, which is what we've done on this project, you actually have to cut the flooring away from the floor so that you don't have anything left sitting on top of the flooring itself. Floating floor is not gonna be happy if you have something sitting on top of it. So here we are, and we're having a little look and see what's going on underneath the flooring here. You might think that flooring is going underneath the cabinets there, but you'd be wrong. You can see it's just there to hold up this kick. So the kick sits on top of the floor, but the actual cabinets themselves sit on top of the subfloor. So that's looking really nice color too here. Depending on what price point clients are trying to reach, we sometimes use off-the-shelf vanities. But generally we find kitchen cabinets and that sort of thing, it almost always makes more sense to have them custom made. And again, like all of these things take time. When cabinets get installed in your kitchen, chances are like those were ordered, they were thought about 4 or 5 months ago, and they were ordered 2 or 3 months ago, because that's the lead time most cabinet companies need in order to create the cabinets that are going to go into your home. Probably one of the biggest mistakes that we see clients make is overcompensating for something. And what I mean by that, we have clients come and work with us and they've lived in a home that's had no storage. So what do? They say, I need all the storage in the world. And our experience can give us a pretty good idea of how much space a client needs or doesn't need. And you start opening up a couple cabinets and there's nothing in there because they have too much storage. I guess a lot of people say you can never have too much storage, but maybe sometimes you can. When it comes to your kitchen storage or any other room for that matter, it really isn't about the amount of space that you have. It's more about how does that space function. A kitchen that has just normal cabinet doors, and every kitchen built in the 2000s and earlier, they had some drawers for like cutlery and maybe cooking utensils, but very few drawers, more just opening doors. And at least the kitchens that Sprucehill designs, we pretty much just do drawers everywhere. Like our kitchens are drawers and more drawers, unless the client specifies that they want something else, in which case we can do that. But drawers really help to maximize the use of space. Another really cool thing that has come out lately, well, there's two. There's a magic corner and a LeMans corner. Those two things are just phenomenal solutions for blind corners. A blind corner, for those of you wondering, like, what the hell is Eric talking about, is where the cabinet goes back into a corner and there's only like a small door that you have to gain access into that, in that corner. Years past, a lot of the times you'd have maybe a lazy Susan in a blind corner. And I think most of you would be familiar with what a lazy Susan is. In the modern day and age where we're trying to make things look a little bit sexier and not have a corner cabinet door that's sagging, because we all know those lazy Susan doors, they end up sagging eventually. They always do. Just to have a door that opens right up and then LeMans corner pulls out. So it's kind of a kidney shape sort of thing. Very, very cool solution. Very, very elegant. Magic corners are nice too, but we find that the doors don't necessarily always stay exactly as you want. So LeMans is definitely our go-to spec for blind corners. Ultimately, at the end of the day, our client now has a nice, bright kitchen that's welcoming, it's warm, and they're excited to come home to. And the same thing can be said about their bathroom. They were not excited about it before, and now they're excited about it every time they come home. And so my message to you is, if there's a space in your house that is really driving you crazy, fix it. I have never, ever, ever had a client say, man, I wish I had waited longer to do this renovation. Bottom line is, you're gonna enjoy it once it's done. Can it be painful to go through? Sure, like, who likes living in dust if you're living there during the project? But I promise you, you are going to enjoy your home so much more once you have made the improvements that you've been thinking about making for years and years. And let's be honest, I don't see the cost of things coming down anytime soon. I don't see labor costs coming down anytime soon, and I don't see material costs coming down anytime soon. So I would suggest that waiting for the right time is not necessarily the way to go. The way to go is, if there's something that you want to get done, get after it. I mean, obviously, as long as you can afford it. The last thing that we want to see is anybody putting themselves into financial peril. But when you're ready to do that project, get on it. Don't wait. You will regret waiting. That I promise you. So if you have any issues that are going on in your kitchen or your bathroom and things that are just driving you crazy and you're looking for ideas or, you know, maybe a starting place, drop us a comment on this video. We'd love to interact with you and at least help get the conversation started. Thank you so much for watching. Stay awesome.